This is the indie god, the deathmatch king, always ready, Matt Cardona, and you're watching Counted Out. And Rory Fox, go fuck yourself.
Well, we are live, pals, for the third year
of
Counted Out with Mike and Tyler. Welcome to the Bill Apter Seal of Approved Counted Out with Mike and Tyler. It is our third anniversary show. My name is Tyler, and I am joined by my partner of 3 years. That's longer than most of my relationships, you know.
Yeah, no shit, eh? Mine too. Hell, my show is older than one of my children. Like this is ridiculous, man. 3 years. Fuck. Cheers to you, man. I'm happy to be doing this for you.
Water, because I'm sick as fuck right now. I almost did not make it for our 3-year anniversary show. I had to push one day, and I was like, but I had to be here. It's 3 years. We've got D-Von Dudley this week.
Yeah, baby. And then another anniversary, if you want to call it, that we had just a couple days ago was our 2-year anniversary of becoming the Bill Apter Seal of Approved Counted Out with Mike and Tyler. It's been 2 years since our amazing interview with the one and only Bill Apter.
Still probably one of my favorite moments in all 3 years of our show.
Mine too. One of my proudest moments, anyways.
I was just going to ask you, use the word proud there, and let's put ourselves over a little bit this week, because I'm proud of us, and I'm proud of everything that we've accomplished. And what are some of the moments that you look back on over the last 3 years, and you're like, damn, I'm really proud that we did that, or like, that you just can't believe, because I feel like we're the little engine that shouldn't be, and here we are doing what we're doing.
100%, man. I'm proud of us for a lot of our interviews, obviously, because you and I have done something that I never thought I'd have the balls to do. With the lasting mark, I didn't have this confidence. I couldn't do this. And not just on my podcast, in my regular life, I would never have the confidence to send an email to a megastar and say, hey, do you want to come on my show? We've talked to Eric Bischoff on this show. That's something I am extremely proud of. We talked to a wrestling legend, a god among wrestlers in Dory Funk Jr. on this show. That is something I'm extremely proud of. More so, though, if I'm being honest with you, I'm really proud of us for the ground level that we got onto. Becoming part of the Barrie Wrestling and Destiny Wrestling families, getting known in the wrestling communities. You and I now, we go to shows, we go around. It doesn't even have to be a Destiny or Barrie show. We show up at shows. People see us, they know who we are now, and not only because of the show, because they listen to Count It Out, but because we're immersed in the community now. And I've always thought it was cool when you go to shows, you see guys like our buddy Chops or our good friend Good Walsh and his wife, who are well known in the wrestling communities. And there's several other, what was her name? Bernadette? I haven't seen her in a long time, but she was well known, everywhere she went. And there's several other wrestling fans that you see at all these shows, and they're just part of the culture. And that's you and I are becoming that, everywhere we go, people, give us the fist bumps and the handshakes and everything like that. People saying hi to us. I don't know them at all, but they know us, and that it's cool to me to be that part of this culture. And the show has done that for us. The show has, I don't know how to say this, man. The show has grown in a way I never thought it would, and I don't mean in like, oh, the show's so big. The show's like gotten bigger than I thought it would. The show has just become this thing that I didn't think it was going to become. this part of our lives that, like, 3 years later, if you told me 3 years ago we'd still be doing this in 3 years and talking to the people we talk to, doing the cool things we do, Jesus Christ, man, you are now officially a ring announcer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
it's crazy.
We have auditioned for commentary gigs. We have, talked to, we're going to talk about this in a few minutes. I'm not going to spoil the names right now, but we're going to talk about it in a few minutes. We have talked to very, very important people in the wrestling world. We now, because this show has given us the clout and the confidence to go up to people like the person we're going to talk about in a few minutes, to go up and shake their hand and say, "Hey, I'm Mike. This is Tyler." I couldn't have done that before, and you have a lot to do with that. The show has a lot to do with that, and the show has changed my life, man. It really has.
Yeah, me too, man. It sent me on a path I always wanted to be on, but never
Divorce?
thought I would. Yeah. Well, we have strong women behind us that, for the most part, are very, very encouraging. For the most part, are very encouraging.
For the most part,
I'm really pushing the boundaries this month with my wife, and
me too.
And I appreciate her for not giving me too hard of a time over the amount of shows I've gone to this month. And March has been a crazy month for me. I did the ring announcing for Barry Wrestling 3 weeks ago. I was at Destiny Wrestling 2 weeks ago, where we spoke to our guest today, D-Von Dudley. And then just the other night, you and I went to GCW, which we're going to talk about in a minute, down at the Opera House. And then this weekend, we are on our way to Windsor, Ontario for the sold-out Impact Wrestling Sacrifice. You talked about some of the things that you're very proud of, and you hit a lot of the ones that I'm proud of as well. Some of our big interviews, the friendship I've developed with just people, people like Bronwyn Billington, people like the Hot Stepper, Van Landen,
Rory Fox,
Fox. Like, we have these nice friendships that we've developed with people that we stayed in contact with,
and of course the people who have helped out with our team, guys like Jonah, guys like Anthony. We couldn't do the shit without guys like that. I can't not mention Adam. I've been friends with Adam for 25 years, but he's still like, as much as he's my brother, he's now a brother of the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and just to go back to what I was rambling about there. For me to be a ring announcer now is amazing, and I have something I'm very proud of. But I'm also very proud of the fact that we are like a regular part of Impact Wrestling's media team now. It's not us begging. It's not us begging and pleading as much as we used to. We still do beg and plead, but we're getting emails from Impact Wrestling now saying, "Hey, these people are available."
And the fact that their PR guy, their public relations, talent relations guy, knows us by name now.
Yeah,
like it's no longer okay. We're not number 6. We're not number 62 on the list of the email blast.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's cool
he knows who counted out now. He knows who Mike and Tyler are, and I love that.
It's cool for me. Like when I jump on an Impact Wrestling media conference call now. And like the last one was with Tom Hannafay and Frankie Kazarian, and Tom Hannafay goes, next up we have Hannafin, sorry, and he goes, next up we have Counted Out, and he goes, I love Counted Out because he's been a guest on our show. Like that's cool for me, to say that we've done media work for AEW. Love them or hate them, they're the second biggest wrestling promotion in North America.
100%.
And we got to do media work for them. I'm just really proud of all we've done, and I look forward to the future. I know that with me doing these 2 jobs lately, in my opinion, at least, my performance on the show has not been up to par. And
in my opinion as well.
Yes, well, fuck off. But I am burning the candle at both ends, and I'm trying to still put in the effort with the show. I'm really hoping to continue to put some more clips up and really start pushing our YouTube a little bit more. And just bear with us here for the next couple months while we figure out some new chapters in our personal lives, and we keep going from there. But we have a huge show this week.
We do.
We have. Do you want to throw it to our guest first, and then we can ramble?
I haven't earned that, man. That you got to throw it because
you want me to throw it to myself?
I do, because I said this on the show last week, how proud I am of you for getting this interview. I couldn't make it to the show, and you had the fucking you had the balls to walk up to D-Von Dudley and ask him to be on the show. And man, you got it. I can't wait to hear this interview. I'm about to hear it for the first time, which is cool. Yeah, I want you to throw it to, because you earned the spot, man.
Well, to celebrate our 3-year anniversary, then I had the pleasure to sit down with WWE and Impact Wrestling Hall of Famer, 23 or 24 time tag team champion.
I believe it's 24.
Arguably part of the greatest tag team of all time, if not top 5.
Yeah, it's not arguably one of.
Like they're a top 3. I would say top 3 of all time greatest tag teams in the Dudley Boys. Here is my conversation with the one and only D-Von Dudley. All right, guys, I am sitting here, Destiny Wrestling, and I cannot think of a better way to celebrate our 3-year anniversary here on Count It Out with Mike and Tyler than with a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time, one of the biggest names in the building. I hope I don't get put through the table here. We've got Mr. D-Von Dudley here. D-Von, thank you so much for doing this today.
Thank you guys for having me here. 3-year anniversary, that's a long time for an independent promotion, so that's really good. That means you guys are doing something really good.
Yeah, well, you know, D-Von, we're putting in the grind here on our show. It's been a long time. We've had a lot of big guests, but I think you're the biggest one so far, man, and we're really excited to get into this. And I want to jump right into it with you, man. We're here in Canada right now. Your sons just made their debut in Canada as we're recording this last night. What are some of your favorite memories about coming over and wrestling over here in Canada?
I don't know if I can say them. I mean, you know, I think it might have been Montreal. The way from the go position to the ring, you had that long ramp that they used to use, and I remember that during the Hogan and Andre era. Whenever they were in Montreal, they would have that long ramp that you would walk through to get to the ring, as opposed to a regular entranceway. That was the one thing I remembered, actually being able to be on that, walking to the ring. So that brought memories. And being able to have some of the matches that we've had with Edge and Christian and the Hardys, even though Edge and Christian, the hometown is Toronto, the Dudley Boys and the Hardys were still cheered because Edge and Christian were that good that they actually made the fans hate them, even though they were in their hometown.
Now, another man that was fantastic at making the fans hate them was somebody that I heard your partner recently talk about in another interview, and that's Classy Freddie Blassie. And I understand Fred was a big supporter of the Dudley Boys. I'm a huge Freddie Blassie fan, and I don't get to hear enough stories about Freddie. Can you share some memories of being around Freddie?
Well, Freddie definitely said what he wanted to say, when he wanted to say it, and how he wanted to say it. I think one of the greatest things was when we were on stage, this is way before doors had opened, and we were going over our stuff with him, Steve Austin, and Eric Bischoff. And I believe it was just me, Vince, and Bubba. We were right there waiting for Austin and everybody else in the group to come. And Bischoff was standing right next to us, and Freddie didn't care. Freddie thought the Monday Night Wars was still going on at this point. And what the hell is that pencil neck geek doing there? And fuck him. Excuse my expression, but F him. I never liked him in the first place. That's why we took you out of business. And me and Bubba was like, whoa. You know, we just looking at it as Freddie Blassie. What are you going to do? And Vince looked at Bischoff, I remember, and just went. And Bischoff was like, you know, he understood. But, man, Freddie was still cutting like a knife. Everything he said, it made me cringe. I was like, oh, my God, Bischoff is right here. He just did not care. And when he got on Hogan, that was even worse. You know, because him and Hogan, you know, he was Hogan's manager when he first came in. And I guess Freddie took to heart when Hogan left and went to WCW, you know. Freddie Blassie was loyal. He was one of the most loyal men you'll ever meet. And with that being said, it was almost like, you know, he didn't care. You know, if the Monday Night Wars were over, or whether if he even knew that the Monday Night Wars were over. He just didn't care. He just went after him.
And, you know, during the early days of the Monday Night Wars, ECW invaded Monday Night Raw, the Manhattan Center. You and Tommy Dreamer got to go out there and do your thing for a little bit. What was that energy like, kind of backstage? You guys are like the outlaw company coming in. Was there any heat with the boys coming in there? What were you feeling getting to go out there on Monday Night Raw, something you probably been watching for a long time?
Well, were we public enemy number one? No. But did we feel like they didn't want us there? Yes. Because at that time, WWE was its own entity. Even with WCW around, they didn't care. They were the number one organization in their mind, so they didn't really care about that. And so when we walked in there, we came in there with our track suits on. They said ECW and all of that. So we were trying to show unity. They were laughing at us. We come to find out later on that they were laughing at us, and that they were like, look at these bozos in their clown suits and stuff like that. JBL told me that after we became very good friends, and it was one of those things we were like, damn, we thought we were doing something good, but apparently we're not, in that aspect. But we were just trying to get our niche in, and we had no control over whether we showed up at Monday Night Raw or not. That was Vince and Paul Heyman's decision, and that was when we was confirmed that we honestly knew that Paul was working with Vince.
No kidding. And the build up to that too, that was leading up to you guys going on pay-per-view for the first time with Barely Legal. Do you wear that as a badge of honor that you guys were the first people out there on that pay-per-view, open up the show with the Eliminators?
So do you mean the Dudleys? Do we feel like it was a badge of honor?
Yeah, like they trusted you to be the first people to open up on this pay-per-view market. They put you out there to be in that spot.
Well, to open up the pay-per-view, was it an honor? Yes, but I think the stuff that Bubba and I had done before that had proven that, we were good enough to be in that spot. And, even leading up to the first match we had with the Eliminators, where we won the titles, it was one of those things that I think that's when we felt, wow, this is something, this is a special moment. Regardless if we only kept them for a month and dropped them right back to the Eliminators, but we went on after Barely Legal to do some great stuff with the Eliminators, and we switched the titles back and forth numerous times. So it actually helped us tremendously. That we knew that was going to happen, so we were honored to be in that position with them.
Awesome. Yeah, and you guys had some great matches there. I want to jump ahead a little more current day here. A little bit, maybe about a year or so ago, you and the WWE, you decided to part ways amicably. You're doing the producing stuff there. What was it kind of for you that just kind of made you want to be like, I want to go out and do something different?
Well, the thing was, they didn't want, their people to do certain things, and I felt like, well, if I'm not doing anything, why not? And it was just one of those things where, I like to say, we agree to disagree. And so it was just best that we parted ways and went our own separate ways. I got no heat with them. They don't have no heat with me. And, one day I might return. One day, just never know. You never know. So it's just one of those things where it was just time to part ways. I had been with them for over 30 years. So with a break in between going to TNA. But, I've been with them since 1999. Of course, again, with that break in between. But, to last as long as I did, I'm surprised.
Oh, absolutely, man. And you did some great stuff in the company there. A lot of changes going on in the company right now with Vince stepping aside and Triple H taking over. Was there a lot of big changes for you in the producer role with that change, or?
Well, I didn't really feel the effect like they did in the main roster because at that time I had gotten to NXT. So I didn't feel the real blow of what happened when Vince stepped down, But now that Hunter's in that creative spot, I think it's great. Yeah. Not taking anything away from Vince. I think Vince did a great job for the past 50 years that he was in charge. But sometimes that old line has to step aside and let that new line come in. And Vince has said that about talent all the time. So why not? Why wouldn't that be the same thing working backstage? It should be the same thing. Sometimes the brain isn't hip with what's going on today, and you need somebody who's relevant with today's times. Hunter is that guy. And again, not taking anything away from Vince. I think Vince did a great job, but now it's time to move on and let somebody else take over.
No, absolutely. We're about a year removed away from you having a pretty big procedure done on your back, your spinal area there. Can you give us an update how you're feeling today? Did the surgery help out? Like, how's D-Von Dudley holding up right now?
I'm holding up great. I mean, the surgery was great. They fused L4 and L5. When they cut me open, they saw S1 was collapsing, so they had to basically fuse that as well. So I have the titanium bolts and screws in my back, in my lower back, and I feel 10 times better than I did before the surgery.
the internet kind of blew up a couple weeks ago with your partner on Chris Van Vliet saying that we've probably seen the end of the Dudley boys in the ring. Is this surgery kind of confirming for you that it's time to just step away and keep doing what you're doing and helping the next generation up? Or do you think maybe we have one more Dudley boy run in us, maybe a couple matches?
Well, that I don't know. I mean, I didn't hear I didn't hear what everybody else was saying in terms of that. People were saying stuff.
Bully was on Chris Van Vliet, and he just said he thinks that we've probably seen the last of you guys together as a tag team, but the door's always open. Like he wasn't saying anything bad or anything like that.
Right, and I mean, again, it's one of those things where my health came into play, and it's like with the back surgery. Do I really want to get back into the ring and basically do everything all over again and disrupt everything? No, I don't. I don't want to disrupt that. But I don't want to get back in the ring and only be a shell of myself. Yeah. If I'm going to be back in the ring, I got to be back full time. I got to do what I normally would do. I can't just half-ass it.
Yeah, of course. We see like the great success of like the Ric Flair's last match. I mean, I would be okay if you were up for it health-wise. I would love to see the Dudley boys in that spot. One more big run, one more big match, get the tables,
Well, again, like Bubba said, you never say never. We'll see what happens.
The last couple questions I want to ask you, you've been so great with your time. You're playing a different role now. You're watching your sons come up through the business here. How's that been for you to watch them start out on this journey, with all the miles and all the years that you put into it, watching them kind of follow in your footsteps?
I think it's great. I think they're better athletes than Bubba and I. They actually know what they're doing in there, and they had great teachers in Bubba and myself, so they're actually going to do very well in this business. I'm very happy for them. And all the success that they've had so far, they've done really well. So it's only a matter of time to see what happens as time goes on with these guys. As long as they stick to the grind and do what we taught them, there's no way they would lose.
They're already making quite a name for themselves up there, so I'm happy to see that for you. The last question I like to always ask everybody to wrap up. When you look back at everything you've done in your career, D-Von, and you've done it all and you've been everywhere, what's like a personal moment for you that just makes you smile to think back? If it's like, oh, that's cool that I did that, or just a proud moment for yourself.
I think the biggest thing was WrestleMania, TLC match, how it was the Hardys, the Dudleys, Edge and Christian. And I'm not talking about the one where Rhino and Lita and Spike was in. I'm talking about the one in Anaheim, California, which was called a ladder match, but yet it was a tables match. Here it is. They put us on that card. They put us together in that type of match because it was like, we got these young stars. What are we going to do with them? Well, let's put them in a match with tables, ladders, and chairs, and we'll call it a ladder match. It was one of those things where they didn't know what they had until it was over. We always like to say Vince threw shit against the wall and see if it stuck. And if it did, he ran with it, which is what he did. We were just happy and proud that we were able to overcome the odds of actually having one of the greatest matches of all time against The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, Mick Foley, and Big Show. I mean, these guys are on the show at WrestleMania tearing it up, and we stole the show. Not only that, but we did it 2 years in a row, back to back. And that was with, they like to say WrestleMania 17 was the greatest WrestleMania of all time. And that might be the case, but still, we stole the show again with everybody that was on there. And if I'm not mistaken, I was Rock and Austin. I mean, it was Rock and Austin, Undertaker and Triple H. I mean, I think we in doing that, that's probably one of the greatest moments in my career. We actually stole the show back to back at WrestleMania, the biggest stage of them all.
Give me goosebumps just thinking about those matches, man. D-Von, this was such an absolute pleasure. You are a true legend in this business. We thank you for everything that you've done. Want to give a big shout out to our boy Travis Moore for doing the filming here. Go check him out. A great independent talent is Travis here. And D-Von, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, man. Pleasure.
Man, that was super cool. And just before I hear what you have to say, Mike, you heard at the end of the interview there, but I want to just give another very big and special thank you to our boy Travis Moore, the Day Tripper. He was very generous with his time to sit down and hold the camera for us. Travis is a fantastic wrestler, Travis. Man. Him and Von Vertigo just tore it down the other week. So do yourselves a favor, check out Travis Moore. You can check him out on Instagram at _Travis Moore. That is TravisMoore. So make sure you check out Travis. He's a fucking great hand.
He is. Before we move on, I do want to. I think I speak for myself, for D-Von, and for D'Lo Brown when I say we love you, Taylor.
Taylor's taken over the world. Hashtag
Yeah.
it. It was funny when we were doing those show bumpers. D-Von took a couple takes to get it, and he finally did a really good one.
And the best take, he called you Taylor.
Yeah, and I was just like, D-Von Dudley, call me whatever he wants.
Because tell me if I'm wrong. Didn't D'Lo call you Taylor on a live feed once?
That is correct. He sure did. So
you've been called Taylor, you've been called Taylor, and you've been called Ike.
Yes, by my nemesis, my arch nemesis, John Atlas. Let's talk a little GCW. You and I ventured down to the Opera House in Toronto on Sunday.
Yeah, we did.
As you heard at the top of the show there, we got to meet Matt Cardona, who gave us that fantastic show bumper. Sorry to our friend Rory Fox there. Matt Cardona, super cool guy.
We don't owe Rory Fox a sorry, because we did him a solid, man. I showed up wearing my Rory Fox t-shirt to that signing. I got Rory over, man. Rory, that picture went everywhere.
Yeah.
That picture of me Cardona with the Rory Fox shirt, I've seen it popping up quite a few places, and Rory shared it on his Facebook. Rory shared it on his Twitter. Matt Cardona retweeted it.
Did he retweet it? I saw he liked it.
I don't know.
I don't understand Twitter myself.
Yeah, me neither, but I'm pretty sure he did. But it's great stuff, man. It was a lot of fun. It was cool to meet Matt Cardona. It was cool to him and I gave each other the gears when Tyler and I walked into the room. Matt just looked right at us, didn't even say fucking hi. He just says, Rory Fox. You didn't pay for that shirt, did you?
Yeah, he was
perfect fucking way to start it, man. It was a great time. We had a good talk with him. I'm not going to go into what we talked about because it wasn't an interview. It was just a conversation between me, Tyler, and Matt. So there was nothing that I know that Matt wants shared on the show. So that'll be a private conversation, but it was a cool conversation between Tyler, I, and Matt Cardona. Very cool guy.
Yeah.
We'll get to this, but had a great match that night at GCW.
Well, we also have an autograph from Matt Cardona that we're planning on giving away for the giveaway as well. We've got a couple great ones, and I think in the next couple of weeks you're going to start seeing a lot of giveaways here. We've got a D-Von Dudley autograph.
Our collection's starting to pile up.
Got a D-Von Dudley autograph to give away. We've got a Matt Cardona. We've got a Josh Alexander and Steve Macklin dual signed Rebellion. That'll be a big one we're going to give away in the future. So stick around. Count It Out's got some cool stuff going on.
All right. Before we do what we normally do, this is what we do with pretty much any show that we either attend or with what we or that we've watched on TV.
Should we also before? Sorry to cut you off. Should we say what my list is this week? We haven't mentioned that.
Well, if they clicked the link, they already know.
I'd still like to mention it. That's what good hosts do.
Christ.
We're doing the top 7 WrestleMania.
When do we become good hosts?
I try sometimes. Top 7 WrestleMania upsets of all time. And also, I heard that you're supposed to plug your subscribe shit in the middles of the shows as well. So like and subscribe our stuff? Question mark?
I mean, we forget to do it in the beginning.
We don't usually do it ever. So fucking hit subscribe, bro. Get that YouTube number up. All right,
we do. I was smart enough to put it in the opening trailer.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now, what was I saying? Oh yeah, before we do what we usually do, we usually break down the card. We don't break down the whole card. We talk about what we like, what we didn't like. We don't waste time going through every single fucking match. So we'll do that. But before we do that, I have a question for you. For a guy that I've been the GCW guy in the show for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, you've been in and out, never fully invested. How was your first real GCW experience? What would you call what we did on Sunday night?
It was good. I had a good time. I enjoyed the show. It didn't leave me being like, holy shit, this is the greatest wrestling show I've ever seen in my entire life. Yep. But I thought the crowd was hot. I thought the matches were solid from top to bottom. I was never bored at the show. I thought it had a great flow. It had a great vibe to it. Great energy. But I kind of took something different away from the show. And I've had a couple days to like kind of sit back and reflect on it because it felt very special. This show felt special. And I think
Well,
it
of
was
course,
kind of
it was GCW's first time in Toronto, and you could feel that they were excited to be here.
see, but for me, the specialness wasn't from GCW. And I was trying to think about like why I was so I don't know the word I was thinking, like the word to describe how I was feeling after the show, but like proud. Like I had this like proud feeling, and I was just really proud of the way that the Ontario independent scene was represented at GCW.
Of course.
And you know, and for me, like as soon as we walked in, first person we see is our friend Travis Moore there supporting, watching the show. We watch the show with our friend Van Landen in the crowd. But the camera crew, they're the guys that do the Barrie wrestling shows, which was super awesome. Got to hang out, chat with them. Brad Myers was refereeing multiple matches on the show. Our boy,
he did the opener, man.
Right? Yeah. Our boy and former guest, the Hot Stepper, had a match on the show. You know, Speedball Mike Bailey.
We're going to really talk about that in a few minutes. We're going to break down the card in a minute, and we're going to really talk about the
that was like, for me, I was just so proud. Like, you know, and Chop said it best. He was like, this is kind of like, and you touched on it too, that indie wrestling community was there. It was like the all-star game for independent wrestling.
Also, there was little bits of every community in Ontario there. Okay. We were there from that Barrie and Toronto community. Chops from every fucking community. Yeah. Chops just goes everywhere. But then we had our friends. Good Walsh was there with his wife Val and a few other people from the Ottawa scene. They were down here too. There was a bunch of people from the Montreal scene. There was guys that we see every month at Destiny. You know what I mean? Like there was people. This is what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. The whole culture was there. We saw a ton of people that maybe we don't know by name or we don't know, but guys that we know enough to go up and be, hey, how's it going? You know, that's so cool to me. You don't get that at a WWE show.
I didn't get to run into them. I didn't know they were there until I saw their Instagram after. But our friend of the show, Wei Ting and John Pollock, were at the show as well from Post Wrestling. Yeah,
where the hell were they?
They were at the very back by the bar. They got there late, I guess, and couldn't get close. So they had shitty seats.
The only indie guy that we know personally that I guess was there that I didn't see was Wade Allen.
I think I did see Wade, but I didn't get to say hi to him. I thought I was like, that looks like Wade, but he was far away and I couldn't tell.
Oh, I see. I found out later he was there, and I didn't see him that night. So I want to talk about the show. Well, I'll say my takeaway because it's quite a bit different than yours. I've been a big GCW fan for 5-6 years now, right? That was one of the most fun I had at a wrestling show in a long time.
It was a great show.
Was it? But it had a lot to do. It did have a lot to do with GCW and just their presence there. But it had a lot to do with everything you just said. It was the fact that our culture was there. Our boys were there. It was so fun. The hardest I marked out all night was for an impromptu trios match, and the Hot Stepper, McCray Martin, popped out, and nobody knew he was there. Not only did we not know he was in the match, we didn't know he was in the building.
Yeah.
We didn't know he was in the city. And
he just got back to the UK.
McCray Martin, one of the hottest rising stars in this business. If you don't believe us, just check out any of his matches. If you don't believe that, go over to R3 and watch his interview with Jonah and Fandango. You know, the guy is a future megastar. I promise you that. And I think this is a stepping stone for him. This is his first time in the big times. This is one of the biggest promotions in the world on Fight Plus, you know, and got the pin in a great pin too. It was a great finish. I love the finish. He looked like $1 million.
Yeah, he looked great.
The crowd popped huge for him. He showed a lot of humble gratitude on his Facebook page later, tagging in all us and all his boys for being there and reacting to him. One of my favorite moments of the night, for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
The rest of the night was fantastic, though, man. We got to see some faces we weren't expecting to see. Joey Janela showed up, which was fun.
Yeah, that was cool.
We didn't know Joey was on the card. The match with Matt Cardona and Sexy Eddie was fun as fuck. I think you and I had more fun in that match than anybody else because I think we're the only two who got the rib.
Yeah.
I don't know if I haven't watched it back on Fight Plus yet. I don't even know if Prazak got the rib. I don't know if they mentioned it on commentary or not, but they Rory Foxed the motherfucker.
A lot of backlash on that match on the internet as well. People are losing their mind about it, but that was
really
funny. Yeah,
come on, who's bitching about that?
The
Other
internet.
than probably like Cornette.
It
was a fun as fuck match. It was great. Sexy Eddie wrestled for like 2 or 3 minutes in the end, just cupping his bare balls in his hands. Didn't let go of them for a second. The only downside to that is Tyler and I were ringside, and I mean literal ringside, like beside the fucking ring. So when Eddie went down for a pin, we saw directly into his asshole.
Yeah.
Not
Bullseye.
good. Not fun. Yeah. But other than that, man, it was a lot of fun. Did you have a match of the night?
The main event was really good.
The main was badass, man. We saw a side of Mike Bailey. Oof.
The Gringo local match was really good against Cartwheel.
I knew you like that. Yeah, you had a lot of fun in that match.
Just a lot of good high spots. It was like, it was
Unfortunately, that was my they didn't GCW used to do intermissions in the middle of their shows. They don't do that anymore. So I had to pick a match to piss during, and unfortunately that I was holding it all through the Lufisto arena match. So as soon as that match was done, I had to go.
Yeah. And I snuck out before, so I only missed the entrances. But I'd just say overall, it was a great time. We got to talk to a lot of great people at the show.
And that's what I wanted to talk to. This is what I want to talk about before we move on. This was as much as I love the show, we have to get down to business. We have a brand to protect. We have we got to get down to business. You and I are a brand. And I think we supported our brand and moved our brand pretty goddamn successfully that night. We got to talk to some pretty fucking high up people, man.
I had my mark out moment. We got to talk to Dave Prazak, which I love Dave Prazak. Yeah. And we're hopeful to get some of the names that we talked of on the show. We had, tentative, I'll do it. So we'll see if we can pull the trigger and follow through on them because
we only had two people. We had only two people very honest with us say, I don't do interviews. I'm not going to out them right now, but out of all the names that we got to talk to that night, only two people actually gave us no's, and we respect the fuck out of that because I'd rather you tell me no, I don't do that, than I'll do what a lot of people have done to us. Say, yeah. And then we never fucking hear back from them again. So I can respect a no. Mark out moment with Prazak, 100%. Another mark out moment for me, just because he's just always seemed like such a cool guy on TV, and he absolutely is in real life. We got to chill out and talk to MLJ for a bit. Very cool guy. So cool that he actually corresponded with you online, giving you some tips for your ring announcing, which is fucking awesome.
So
very
this
cool
one for me was really cool because, like, I do ring announcing at Barrie Wrestling. It's not like I'm a ring announcer. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not traveling, making towns, anything like that. But I want to continue to improve and always get better. So, we had a hook up the camera crew that does Barrie Wrestling, introduced us to ML there, and we got to talk to him for a little bit. He was super cool, took a picture with us. And then I kind of just asked him, I said, hey, do you have any pointers you can give me? I just started doing this. And he was great. How long you've been doing it for? I told him about 6 months. He's like, he's like, I have a 10-point step system. It's like, I have a note on my phone. He goes, DM me on Twitter and I'll send it to you. And I was like, oh, and these guys probably get a lot of DMs. So I was like, well, hopefully he sees mine. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think
because he hasn't seen any of mine for the last year and a half. I'll tell you that.
So I did. I DM'd him on Twitter and I just said, hey, blah, blah, blah. I just kind of refresh his memory who I was. And the next day I get a message back from him. Hey, yeah, absolutely. Here you go. Said, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time. And the nice guy that he is, he said, yeah, you ever want to send me any of your footage, I'll happily give you some feedback. So I told him beers are on us next time he comes to Toronto, and we're making a new friend there. And I'm going to keep in contact with him. I'm going to take him up on that offer. So
100%. Emil's a good guy. I've been a big fan. Emil, and I said this to you before we even got there. I told you to keep your eye on MLJ.
I did.
Because I consider, and not just as a ring announcer, because I consider him to be the heart and soul of GCW.
He was fantastic.
You want to see somebody more passionate about that business than anybody else, not of the business, of that company. That's MLJ. Yeah. MLJ loves Game Changer Wrestling more than anybody I know.
Yeah, he was great. The way he paced that show out too was just incredible. Yeah. And he knew where to be. He knew when to get hyped. He knew when to let things breathe. And I was very impressed overall.
And then right after that, man, we had to shoot our shot. We did the impossible, man. We could actually say in the last year, you and I have had conversations with two men who have run some of the biggest companies in the world. We talked to Eric Bischoff earlier this year, and just on Sunday night, you and I walked up, shot our shot, and shook hands with Brett Lauderdale.
That's correct. You're next, Vince McMahon.
Yeah, that's it.
We're coming for you, Tony Khan.
You can do that one.
Come on, you wouldn't have Tony Khan on this show.
I'm not a hugger.
I know.
He'll hug me, and then
I love that Tony Khan's a hugger. I don't like that people give him heat for being a hugger.
And then I have to explain why I have cocaine all over me.
That's a different story. But I love that Tony's a hugger.
Brett Lauderdale, it wasn't a long conversation. But he was very cool to us. Walked up, shook our hands, had a brief conversation. I flat out asked him, because I've never seen him do a podcast. I've never heard a podcast with him unless it's like a GCW, you know what I mean? So I flat out said, do you do these things? And he says, no, but I fucking love Toronto, so I'll do yours. So hopefully we can hook that up. He's a busy fucking guy. So
I shot him a message. We'll see.
Yeah, we're not announcing that we're getting Brett Lauderdale on this show, but the fact that he's even going to consider doing our show because he loves the city so much is awesome.
And that's a good sign to bring GCW back.
Oh, I guarantee you that eventually they're going to come back. I think they were very impressed with both their Montreal and their Toronto shows. The crowds were hot as fuck. Before we move on, a couple other names we got to talk to. I got to shoot the shit with Effie.
Yeah,
very cool guy.
And Alley Catch as well. Got to reconnect with her. I talked to her at Destiny. She actually remembered me. That was cool.
You and I split up for a few minutes. You went and talked to Master Slamovich.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I got my picture taken with her in the GCW title.
Absolutely. While I was talking to Jordan Oliver in the other corner. Very nice man. I also swung around while you were still talking to Masha and introduced myself to the bad boy, Joey Janela.
I didn't get to Joey. I missed him.
You know, yeah, very, very cool as well. Very nice, very gracious. I know there was other ones as well. I had a very brief encounter with Jimmy Lloyd. Very brief encounter with.
I talked to Veda Scott for a bit.
Veda Scott, yeah, very nice woman. I've talked to Veda a few times in the past. She's always very, very nice. Very cool that she's doing all these GCW shows.
Yeah, overall, I had a great time, and I would go back. I would go back to another GCW show.
100%. It's still on my bucket list to hit the collective one of these days. When we finally get to go to if we go to Philly for WrestleMania, we're gonna hit up a couple collective shows. Probably Bloodsport. I'd love to go to Bloodsport.
Bloodsport would be cool.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of WrestleMania,
man. Anything else you want to talk about before you hit your list?
No, man. I think we covered it all. I'm excited for this weekend to go to Impact Wrestling. You guys can expect some Instagram lives from us this weekend and some drunken late night posts. So we're gonna have a good time this weekend. So stick around.
It's gonna be the best of both worlds. Anybody who listened to this show, anybody who listened to me before this show, anyone who listened to the Lasting Mark and stuff like that, who's been following me for longer than 3 years, you're in for a bit of a treat. You might hear some familiar voices on some of our extra content. We're going to be hooking up with a lot of the WrestleMania guys. We're gonna be hanging out with Adam Contant. We're gonna be hanging out with Danny Franchise. We're gonna be hanging out with Matt Sookrum, formerly of We Have Till 5. A special treat for me. We're gonna be hanging out with Ropes to Reels Drew. I haven't seen that guy in years. I'm so excited for this Windsor trip, man.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be a reunion for you, and I'm going to get to meet a bunch of new faces.
And
I'm excited
you
to meet
finally get
Adam.
to meet these guys.
Yeah, I'm excited to meet Adam face to face. I'm
Yeah.
not going to say I'm excited to meet Danny, but I'll see Danny. So
You shouldn't be. No.
Nah, just kidding. We love Danny. Danny tears the house down every time. So
one last piece. Usually we try to get the side shit out of the way in the beginning of the show, but because we had D-Von, I didn't want to do this. I just want to throw a very somber note out before we move on to the list. I wanted to give a big rest in peace. We talked about the culture. We talked about the fandom. There's certain fans that you see all the time, and in the deathmatch fandom, especially in GCW, there was a guy named Piss Jug Mike.
Great name.
Yeah, the reason he got that name is everywhere you never saw him on TV without this giant jug of iced tea that he carried everywhere he went, but it was so yellow it looked like a bottle of piss. So he got the name Piss Jug Mike. Now you might know him, Tyler. He went viral about a year or so ago.
I know exactly.
Giving the finger, showing his tits to Matt Cardona
and his wheelchair.
Yeah,
great photo.
Great photos, and he's got a lot of great photos, and made a lot of good friends in around the business, especially in GCW. You know that when you pass away, and guys like Matt Cardona and Joey Janela and even Brett Lauderdale are tweeting about you, saying, rest in peace, we miss you. You made an impact on the business. So Piss Jug Mike, who passed away. Sadly, I believe today, very brief bout with cancer. Man, we have to bring that up because I love wrestling fans. Sometimes,
yeah,
a lot of times. Sometimes
I like indie wrestling fans.
I like fans like him. I like fans like because he reminds me of the fans that we know, guys like Chops. You know what I mean? Guys who just show up and they're there. They're part of the furniture. I love guys like that, and. I know for a fact, I didn't know him personally, but I know for a fact he's going to be missed in the GCW circle.
100%. Yeah, RIP to Piss Jug. Absolutely.
All right, buddy. Let's
WrestleMania
do
season.
this.
It is WrestleMania season. Are you excited for WrestleMania this year?
I don't want to be that guy, man. But no.
Yeah.
And it's my own fault.
Yes.
I'm just not. It's not WWE's fault. It's not WWE's fault for not making me excited. I'm just not there. I'm not following the product as heavily as I should be. This is usually the time of year, even if I'm not watching all year long, I watch during WrestleMania season. I'm just not doing it this year. I was busy with school. I was busy with the kids. I was busy. I'd rather watch Impact. So I never got back onto it. Will I watch WrestleMania? Yeah, of course I will. I will I watch it live? Probably not. I'll probably be working. But am I excited for it? No.
See, I'm with you. I'm actually very excited for WrestleMania this year. And I, through my own fault, just for being so busy in life, I have not got to watch a lot of stuff that I would like to watch. I watch a lot of YouTube clips.
I'm excited about some of the matches I know we're going to see.
I think that this is one of the best built WrestleMania cards in a long time. I'm really invested in a lot of the storylines. I think they've done a great job of planting seeds months in advance. There's a couple matches I like every year at Mania where it's like, I don't really care about this one. But I would say my interest level is higher this year for WrestleMania than it has been in probably the last 5 or 6 years.
All right,
and that's
what are you interested in other than everything?
Not everything, but not.
Okay,
I'm not interested. I'm not interested in what Bray Wyatt's doing, but other than that,
well, Bray Wyatt's not doing anything. So,
well, he's supposed to be fighting Bobby Lashley, but he's been hurt.
Yeah, but you're gonna also sit there and tell me that you actually are excited for Brock and Omos?
You know what? I actually am. And
I'm not going to judge you for that. I'm surprised.
I am interested.
You don't think we're going to have? It's not going to have Taker Gonzalez vibes here.
It might, but you know what a draw is, and it's not just in wrestling; it's in sports. It's the freak show battles, man.
Yeah.
Bellator made a fucking career out of it with Kimbo Slice and with all these monsters. You know what I mean? We're used to seeing Brock Lesnar go in there with guys that he dominates and throws around. And man, Brock Lesnar looks like me compared to this fucking almost guy. So it's really refreshing to see Brock in a role like that. Do I think it's going to be a 5-star classic? No.
Of course not. But,
Do I think it's going to be really cool, though, if Brock Lesnar gives this fucking guy a suplex? Hell yeah, I do. I think it's going to be awesome to see. So, you know, I'm not expecting these guys to have a pretty match, but I'm expecting to see them hit each other really hard and just the intrigue behind Almost and Brock, it's got me. I'm into it.
So the last thing I'll ask you before we actually hit the list, Cody or Roman?
I want Roman to win.
Me too.
I think Roman should win.
Me too.
I think Cody should beat him for the title in a few months down the line. SummerSlam, sure. I think that they are going to pull the trigger on Cody, though, but I don't think
if the rumors are true, Roman's taking a break.
Roman can take a break and be the champion.
Yeah, I mean,
he did it already this year.
Fucking time. Yeah, I know.
I think that's what makes Roman more special.
And this is not against Cody. I just really want to see Roman break Pedro's record. I really
want to see Roman keep going.
Yeah.
And I feel like Cody chasing the title is a better story than Cody winning in his first match.
Agreed.
And because Cody is that
too many people
face.
Are saying I too many people I keep because I get a lot of DMs of friends I haven't even talked to in fucking forever going, you know, Cody or Roman, and they always have the same answer to me. They always say to me, oh, it's got to be Cody, it's time. What the fuck does that mean, it's time? Cody's only been around for a year.
And he was hurt for
he was hurt for the majority of it. I don't give a fuck what he did in AEW. I don't give a fuck what he did in ROH or New Japan. This is WWE. This is a different program. This is a different character. This is different. Don't tell me it's time. I don't believe that shit. Am I saying that he shouldn't be in this match? No, he should be in the match because it makes sense. It's a business decision. You put the fucking draws in the fucking big matches. I get it. But don't tell me it's time for him to be champion. The last time we saw him in WWE, he was a fucking joke.
Yeah, but he's not a joke anymore. He's a draw.
Absolutely not.
Like you just said.
I agree. But but don't give me this it's time shit. He's only been back for a cup of fucking coffee.
Now, I have gone on record, and you've heard me say it on this show, that I think Cody is the guy that should beat Roman. And I still stand by that. I just think that you'll get a bigger reaction if Roman wins and Cody chases, but actually chases. You know what I mean? Like, he's not chasing right now. He won the Rumble, and he's doing great promo work with Roman, going back and forth with Heyman. But I think that Cody can draw empathy from a crowd, and Cody can get that reaction from people. And I think Cody chasing is going to have a bigger impact than Cody just winning right now.
Agreed.
But some people that had some impacts on me in the upset, let's talk about my list here. A little bit of backstory, a little bit of criteria here. I didn't put any celebrities on my list because, you know, you bring a celebrity in 9 times out of 10, they're supposed to win.
Exactly.
So you won't be seeing Lawrence Taylor on this list. You won't be seeing Aki Bono. You won't be seeing Floyd Mayweather. Snooki, or you will not be seeing Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville on this list.
Yeah.
So that will not be on my list. But what
do you consider Lawrence Taylor beating Bam Bam Bigelow an upset?
100%. Guy's a football player coming into a wrestling ring.
Yeah. Okay.
And we'll talk about kind of a little bit more of my criteria as it goes. Like for me, I don't want the win to be overshadowed by anything else. And I have a specific match that we'll talk about a little bit later for that one. But let's start with my number 7. My number 7 is a little bit of a deep cut, and I'd love to hear your take on this. I'm going back to WrestleMania 19 when Matt Hardy defeated Rey Mysterio in the Cruiserweight Championship match to open the show.
Okay. I'm not going to argue with you. Didn't even dawn on me. I didn't consider this. But I'm down with it. Let's talk about this for a second.
Well, let me paint a little picture for you here. How
yeah.
about that? Okay. So
it was a great match, by the way.
It was a great match.
Yeah.
So WrestleMania 19, Rey Mysterio has only been in the company for about 6 months by this point, 7, 8 months. He has not.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that he didn't come in right after the merger.
No, he did not.
No,
he did not. That. And so he debuted around July of 2022. Would that be 2023? Sorry, right?
No, 2002.
Was it 2002?
Well, it wasn't 2022.
Oh, sorry. Whatever. He debuted in July of that year, formed that tag team with Edge. He was tangled up in the SmackDown 6 for a while. So Rey didn't sniff around the Cruiserweight division at all. And this was Rey's first trip into the Cruiserweight division in the WWE.
Yes.
Rey Mysterio, probably the greatest Cruiserweight of all time. He's fighting Matt Hardy, who's really hitting stride in the Mattitude stuff right now. But I don't think a lot of people expected Matt Hardy to leave WrestleMania as a Cruiserweight champion when this match was announced. I think that everyone was just assuming that Rey was going to win and he was going to carry on and pick right up where he left off in WCW. And Matt Hardy fucking stole the win out of him, and it caught me off guard for sure. I did not expect it.
Yeah. Man, you're making me rethink 90% of my list here because I don't know where if I was to fit this in my number 7, I don't know how I'd rearrange my list, but
I told you I like deep cuts.
I like this shit. Yeah, I like how you get me thinking. I'm already thinking. I like that. Yeah. Good number 7.
I think I might get some heat for my placement on this one, but my number 6, I'm taking this back to the ladder match at WrestleMania 32 when Zack Ryder won the Intercontinental Championship over Kevin Owens, Dolph Ziggler, Sami Zayn, The Miz, Sin Cara, and Stardust.
I may have not gotten the criteria proper, so you might see some differential because of that in our list. This was an honorable mention for me.
Okay.
Yeah. But it definitely needs to be talked about. It's a great match, and nobody had fucking Cardona on their bingo card that night.
Well, that's because he wasn't even officially entered into the match until the week before WrestleMania when Neville got hurt. Right?
That's right.
So not only is he the last minute replacement going into this match, but I mean, you've got Sami Zayn, who's this is his call up moment. You know what I mean? He just had that match with Nakamura for his NXT farewell. You got Kevin Owens, who's on fire here. Dolph Ziggler, who's always Dolph Ziggler. The Miz, a former world champion, and then you had Sin Cara and Stardust, right? But by this point, Zack Ryder, a lot of the luster of Zack Ryder had kind of cooled off a little bit. He wasn't, you know, the buzz of the wrestling world like he had been a couple of years before that. And even like his biggest thing in this whole thing was, I get to hear my entrance music at WrestleMania. Like, didn't exactly paint the picture of the guy that was going to come out and be the Intercontinental Champion. And sure enough, he climbed up that ladder and he pulled the belt down and he won the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania, had the big woo 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 moment at the ladder, and then he lost the next night to the Miz on Raw, but whatever.
Again, not on my list. I understand why it's on yours. However, I think we're gonna have 2 very, very, very different lists, and that's cool. But I like it. I like it so far. Let's hear number 5.
So my number 5 is the one that I kind of alluded to a little bit earlier. It's what I talked to you off air about that I bumped up from my number 3 spot.
And I want to know, because I have one I think I'm going to get heat for leaving off completely. And I want to know if it's the same one.
I'm going to the main event of WrestleMania 27, The Miz defeating John Cena.
Didn't make my list. I don't consider this an upset.
Really?
There was because there was too much bullshit in the match. And that's why for me.
I fought to put this on or not.
The Rock's involvement ruined it for me. So that's why it didn't make my list.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I thought about leaving this off my list as well. But even with The Rock's involvement in it,
because the focus wasn't on Miz.
That's what I was upset about.
Miz walked out champion, and no one gave a fuck.
Yes.
So I didn't count this as an upset.
That's fair,
because Cena still walked out as the man, and people weren't talking about Miz; they were talking about Cena and Rock.
Yeah, and that's fair, and I get that. But when I took a look at everything that I had on my honorable mentions as well, I still think this one was a little bigger than some of my honorable mentions, like Otis beating Dolph Ziggler. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, to me, The Miz still won the main event of WrestleMania, and it sucks that the focus wasn't on him. It sucks that he got a concussion and doesn't even remember it. But to say that you beat John Cena in a main event of WrestleMania, no one expected The Miz to win this match, even with The Rock being involved in his capacity. The Miz was just that transitional champion. That's what everyone thought he was going to be. He wasn't going to be the focal point of the company, and he was just there to hold the belt until Cena was ready to do it again, which ended up happening a couple months later. Maybe the next month, I think he lost the belt. But everybody and their mother thought that John Cena was going to win at WrestleMania, and The Miz pulled it out. Just for that reason, I agree with everything you said, and that's why it's just sitting in my number 5 spot instead of that could have been a number 1. You know what I mean? Had there'd been no interference.
Agreed. And if they put more focus on the fact that The Miz was winning the title.
Yeah. Exactly. Because by the end of it, it was just The Rock and Cena.
Exactly.
And
that match was made to build to the next year's WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Miz was there solely as a placeholder.
And even the build up to that match was all about The Rock and Cena too.
Yeah. Miz was there to do the dirty work while The Rock wasn't going to be on TV every week.
Yes. Number 4. Let's go back to WrestleMania 29 when Fandango beat Chris Jericho.
Not on my list.
Yeah?
This is the one I said you're going to give me heat for keeping off my list.
I'm not going to give you heat for it because I get it, but this is a strong way to debut a character.
100%. I guess maybe I put too much focus on the aftermath and how no one gave a fuck.
Well, my list isn't the top 7 drop the ball moments. It's upsets, right?
I understand that. My main problem was it was just like even that night, no one gave a fuck.
Well, I mean, everybody was fandangoing by the end of the night.
Yeah. I might be being too hard on this match. If it did make my list, I gave it consideration, it was going to be my number 7.
Yeah, it just kind of it was that one that kept trickling down for me.
Again, I feel like my criteria was a lot different than yours. So I'm thankful this isn't my list this week because I think you're going to hate my list.
I think I will too because I think they're drastically different.
You haven't had a single match off my list yet.
Really? I couldn't imagine what you have on your list then, because I these were the 7 that I thought stuck out.
I think my idea of an upset's different than yours, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Because the only criteria that counts right now is yours because it's your list. So I did my homework wrong. Let's just say that.
Well, for me, Chris Jericho is he's got to go down in history as one of the most successful wrestlers of all time.
100%.
Championship everywhere, and I think the shock value wasn't there as much for this one because to be surprised that Fandango beat Jericho, like I wasn't, but
no
huge fucking upset though. But just because the shock value wasn't
should
there,
have been an upset, I think, and that's the problem. It should have been an upset. You should have been going there. Fandango won, but I did. I'm like, oh shit, fucking Fandango won. That was my reaction.
But it's still
I just thought it was shit booking. I didn't think it was, any and I shouldn't. I'm too hard on this match. I always call it shit booking. It wasn't shit booking. They were trying to get a guy over.
Yeah.
And they were doing it the right way by getting a made guy, one of the most made guys in the world. It doesn't matter. You could have had fucking Hornswoggle beat Jericho at that Mania, and it doesn't hurt Jericho. Nothing hurts Jericho.
Let me play devil's advocate on you.
Yeah.
So, because you're saying it was like they were trying to get somebody over, and it was shit booking, right?
No, I'm saying I'm being too harsh by calling it shit booking. I shouldn't call it shit booking.
Because by the end of that weekend, by the end of WrestleMania weekend, when the end of Raw happened, all anybody was doing was fandangoing. Now, after WrestleMania,
Now, but by May, by the month of May, not so much.
But could you say though that the presentation and the upset and the music, all that did its job for that weekend? Like
not
it was months later.
Not to make my personal list, but yes.
Months later, they dropped the ball with it. Absolutely, they did. You know how you don't capitalize on. He went on fucking iTunes charts, man.
I think my main problem, you hit the nail on the head here, was the shock factor. The shock factor just wasn't there.
Fair.
And that I think that has to do with the match layout. I don't think that's Jericho's fault. I don't even think it's really the WWE's fault in total. Just the way the match went, and by the end, it wasn't a oh my god moment. It was a really, yeah, that's it.
That's fair. How about my number 3 then? I'm taking us all the way back to WrestleMania 7. The Nasty Boys upsetting the Hart Foundation for the WWF Tag Team Championship.
You're going to hate my list so much. Yeah. Again, our ideas of upsets are very, very different. But this is an upset.
This is a huge upset for this time period as well. Yeah. The Hart Foundation were the best tag team in the world during this time, in my opinion. 100%. Maybe next to the Rockers, right? And then you got the Nasty Boys, who, not a bad tag team, but you wouldn't think during this time period with this many great tag teams. You look at their division right now, you got the Rockers, the Hart Foundation, LOD, Power and Glory, the Nasty Boys, Demolition. They're not the guys I'm thinking are going to be your tag team champions.
No.
And to go to WrestleMania, and I'm okay with the interference in this match because it was their manager, Jimmy Hart, throwing a motorcycle helmet in the ring. It was done well. But they beat the Hart Foundation, which many people consider one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
100%.
Big time upset as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, again, one of those matches that I'll consider this as a deep cut. I didn't even think of this one.
All right, let's go. This number 2, I almost put as my number 1. I'm taking us to WrestleMania 5. And we're going with Ravishing Rick Rude upsetting the Ultimate Warrior for the Intercontinental Championship.
You finally have one that I have, and it's my number 7.
What?
This is hilarious. I love this so much.
It's my gimmick to make bad lists around here. Mike, come on.
Woo!
How is this your number 7? The Ultimate Warrior was a monster. He was killing everybody.
I know.
And Ravishing Rick Rude.
Matches that I consider to be bigger upsets. This is hilarious to me. And you're not wrong. I don't think either one of us are wrong. I think our just the way we did our lists was just very different. And I think we just made 2 very different lists.
I'm more interested to hear your list now than to even reveal my number 1. But let's take you.
I want to talk about this. I'm talking about this. We got to talk about some Rick Rude here.
Well, let's talk about. You want to see a clinic on how to sell? Watch this match because the Ultimate Warrior just beats the piss out of Rick Rude for this whole match. Rude's selling of his back is amazing.
They had a great feud, by the way.
Very underrated feud for the Intercontinental Championship. They had 2 great matches, this being one of them. They had another great one at SummerSlam 89. But the Ultimate Warrior was this unstoppable force for the last year in the company, running through everybody. No one was putting a dent in him. And they announced Rick Rude, who's this fucking pretty boy. You know what I mean? Shake my hips, not known for his super toughness, not known for his aggression, not known to be a threat to a guy like the Ultimate Warrior. And thanks to one of the most creative finishes that I really love, Rick Rude, with the help of Bobby Heenan, who pulled the Warrior's leg out on a suplex attempt and held it down, so Rude got the 3 count, stole the Intercontinental Championship from the most dominating man in the company at that time. I loved it.
100%.
Absolutely.
He would, of course, get it back later in the year, but that moment was big for Rick Rude.
Absolutely was. And I think it was a huge upset. I put strong consideration to give it my number 1.
Now, I got to tell you, to me, there's only one answer for the number 1, but your whole list has been so pleasantly confusing to me that I have no idea, because At the beginning of this list, I knew what your number one was, but because of the way the rest of your list went, I have no idea anymore. I just don't.
To me, the number one was clear, and
Okay.
it's WrestleMania 10. It's Owen Hart beating Bret Hart.
Okay. That's on my list. I'm not gonna tell you where until I do it in a minute. There's a few you're missing that I'm just perplexed by, and we're gonna talk about that in a minute. But we have to talk about the greatest opener in the history of WrestleMania.
Yeah,
now.
maybe one of the greatest openers of all time. But
Yeah.
let's talk about the story leading into this. It's very similar to Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio right now, where Bret refuses. He doesn't want to fight his flesh and blood. And
Listen. Owen Hart's one of the greatest wrestlers on the planet, but even Owen couldn't get the fucking heel heat that Dom's getting right now.
That's true. But Owen also wasn't known as one of the greatest wrestlers on the planet yet. He wasn't established really at this time.
No.
He'd had a couple really bad gimmicks, and Bret is the older brother. There wasn't a lot going. Absolutely great mask, blue blazer mask. Bret was the older brother. Owen was the bratty little brother. Your older brother usually beats the shit out of the bigger brother, the younger brother, right? Not a lot of people thought that Owen Hart had a chance going into this match, especially considering Bret Hart was about to challenge for the world title later in this match. And the fact that Owen caught Bret in a wrestling move, beat him clean in the ring, 1, 2, 3, shocked everybody, Bret included.
Not only one of the greatest, fuck that, the greatest opener in the history of WrestleMania, and I truly believe that. One of the best finishes in WrestleMania history.
Love it. It was a wrestling move that got him.
And why? Because nobody saw that coming. Nobody thought Owen would, number one, no one thought Owen would win. But if you did think Owen was going to win, you never thought he was going to win clean.
Yeah, and just like that, you created Owen Hart.
And then later on, you have that great story being told where Bret still wins the WWF Championship from Yokozuna later that night. And Owen, the pain in Owen's face as he stands there going, what the fuck? I beat him.
Yeah.
What a great story. What a great night. I love that WrestleMania, by the way. WrestleMania 10 is on my personal favorites.
Yeah.
It always will be. Special place in my heart. I started watching WrestleManias and really caring about them at 8. So everything from 8 to 14 have very special a very special place in my heart because I was still quite young watching those.
Yeah, that's WrestleMania 4 for me.
Yeah, I wasn't cynical yet. I wasn't, you know what I mean? I wasn't but WrestleMania 4, you say that, but how old are you in WrestleMania 4? 2?
No, I was I was in kindergarten. No, I was a little younger than that, but you
sure were.
I'm not talking about watching it live though. I'm talking about the first WrestleMania that really resonated with me. Renting it on VHS was
that was WrestleMania 8 with me. But then it went from 8 to 9, and I love the fact that I was too young to care that WrestleMania 9 sucked. Because to me it didn't. It was WrestleMania. WrestleMania can't suck. It wasn't until it became a cynical adult. Looking back, that wasn't great. But even WrestleMania 11 was great to me at that age, and I miss being that age for wrestling purposes.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I had 2 matches out of 7 that were on your list. So quickly, I need to hear what was on your list,
man. This is unofficial. You can't give me heat. You can't give me shit because this is not an official list.
Fair.
Okay, your list is in the history books. Mine doesn't count. So I went Root versus Warrior, obviously. My number 6 was Eddie going over Angle at WrestleMania 20.
Yeah, I didn't really think this was an upset.
I consider it an upset.
I thought Eddie was rolling.
And it feels like an upset when you watch it. They did their job being the commentary, everything. They did your job making you feel Angle was going to fucking win that night.
See, for me, Eddie coming off all that big win over Brock Lesnar, they felt like equals to me going into this match.
And I feel that's where you and I differed making our lists, because a lot of these matches you're going to see have that that aspect to it of they did a good job and when I say they, I mean the characters, the commentators, the production team. They did a good job of making me believe what they wanted me to believe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's why these matches made my list. My number 5, you're gonna laugh at me, man, but it was Sheamus going over Daniel Bryan at 28.
See, I didn't find that to be an upset. I found it to be a shocking moment.
Okay, I'll concede to that.
Because I also put some consideration into that. And then I was like, well, Sheamus is a fucking beast. He won the Royal Rumble. Like, Daniel Bryan was playing like that champion escaping by like the skin of his teeth. But like the fact that he beat him in 9 seconds, that was like a holy shit moment instead of an upset to me.
Now listen to me, man. And I know what you're gonna say, and I'm gonna hit it before you say it to me. I understand that Hulk Hogan is the biggest name in the history of professional wrestling, and even was at this point in time. But in this point in time, you still didn't beat Andre the fucking Giant. So my number 4 was Hogan going over Andre at WrestleMania 3.
I don't know. I like, Andre, the way they presented him undefeated or whatever, but like Hogan was just Hogan. Like,
I get you, and I knew you were going to say that.
If that were to be on my list,
why,
it wouldn't be that low. It would be like in a 7 spot. You know what I mean?
Sure.
For me, because
which is why you're also going to hit my number 3, which is Warrior going over Hogan at 6.
I put thought into that as well. Was it an upset? And like, to me, the way that the Warrior was booked going into it compared to Hogan, who was kind of like coming to the end of the Hulkamania run, I put thought into it, but Warrior was like this force that like, to me, it was more of like everybody was saying who's going to win, like which one is going to win instead of Hogan's going to win this.
Right. Okay. I still think when Warrior won, it still shocked a lot of people.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't think anybody would have been surprised if Hogan won. Nobody.
No, I don't think so either.
Warrior winning was like, oh my God.
But I think it's one of those matches that going into it, though, like everybody just didn't know who was going to win. It wasn't like Hogan was favored to win. To me, it was more like everybody was split in the middle. So, like, to me, that takes away from the upset aspect of it.
My number 2 was Owen versus Brett.
Okay.
My number 1 was Lesnar breaking the streak, man.
The
fact that you didn't talk about it at all perplexes me.
Well, Brock Lesnar's beaten the Undertaker at least 3 times before that match.
But this was the streak.
Okay. But is it an upset? We've had this conversation before.
Yeah, it was an upset.
Is it an upset losing to Brock Lesnar?
It's an upset to lose the streak.
It was a shocking moment.
I think this is the biggest upset in WrestleMania history.
I don't consider this an upset at all. I consider it the most shocking moment in wrestling history because I don't think anybody ever believed that the streak would end.
What about Roman beating him a couple years later? Was that an upset?
No. Roman was the man at that point. Taker was on his way down. But I think that the shock value of Brock Lesnar winning was what make people think that this was an upset. But this guy's fucking Brock Lesnar, man. He can beat anybody. He's the man. He's the fucking beast. Look at him. He's beaten Taker in his prime before. He's beaten everybody. Beat The Rock. Beat Hogan. Like, to me, Brock Lesnar beating The Undertaker, it's not an upset to me. It actually is kind of the other way around, especially like the next year when they like rekindled that feud. It was always shocking to me that The Undertaker beat Brock.
Right.
So like, I was shocked beyond belief that it happened, but I don't think it was an upset. I think those are two different avenues.
I think our listeners will consider you not considering an upset.
Well, there you go. I got a couple honorable mentions as well.
Yeah. I've only got 2 that we haven't mentioned already.
All right, you hit yours and then I'll hit mine.
I've got, and this is honorable mention because it wouldn't have even made my list, but it has to be mentioned. I've got Michael Cole over Jerry the King Lawler.
Yeah, I didn't even put it as an honorable mention just because of the way it happened. Like, I was just
And I think this is gonna be controversial for you. I don't think you're gonna agree with this, but I'm marking it as a upset. Triple H winning at WrestleMania 16.
Yeah, a lot of people have that as an upset. I wouldn't fight against it, but it didn't make an honorable mention for me either.
It wouldn't make my list, but it was an honorable mention.
I've got Greg the Hammer Valentine beating Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 4.
Sure.
Because everybody thought we were going to get Steamboat and Savage 2 there.
Yeah.
I also considered Warrior and Hogan, but then I didn't consider them. I had Shane McMahon beating X-Pac at WrestleMania 15 as an honorable mention.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I don't know what your take is on this one, but Chris Benoit winning the world title at WrestleMania 20 over Michaels and Triple H. A lot of people consider that to be an upset. Like Benoit actually won the big one.
Yeah, I remember because I remember sitting there. I don't remember if I thought he was going to win, but I know I wanted him to win.
Yeah,
so
but he won against Shawn and Triple H, and Benoit was never the man. You know what I mean? Those guys were.
Honorable mention for sure. I don't think it makes my list.
It doesn't make my list either, and it did not. I actually put consideration of sneaking this on my list is Cesaro winning the Andre the Giant Battle Royal at WrestleMania 30. Everybody was like,
"Well, big," that an upset?
Because Cesaro was a tag team wrestler at that point with no push behind him, just an internet darling. And everyone's like, "Oh, Big Show's obviously going to win the first ever Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal." And the way that not only did they put Cesaro over, but the way that they put him over was incredible. Baron Corbin beating Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 35. I don't know, honorable mention. And Otis beating Dolph Ziggler at WrestleMania 35. Because who the fuck is Otis? But those are just honorable mentions.
All right.
That's it.
Well, I'm glad it was your list.
Yeah, me too, because I would have yelled at you.
We avoided a big fight.
And I don't have the voice. I'm losing my voice. So
well, keep that thing because we're hitting the road in just a couple days.
Yeah, I'll see you in Windsor in a couple days and take us home for the third year in a row.
For the third, man, I can't get over that. For the third year in a row, we are grateful to be in your homes each and every Thursday. Thank you so much for listening for 3 straight years, Rob, and anyone else who's tuned in and out.
Steve Bourne. Steve
Bourne. Thank you everybody for your support over 3 years. Here's to 3 more and 3 more after that. Once again, we have been counted out.
Cheers.